Andy Whitehead here from Apex. This is going to solve one of the biggest problems you have in your search business, your offer. So taking your fee from 10K to 20K, from 30K to 50K, going fully retained. I've got a song stuck in my head, da 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 da, it's a D-O-double-G. And it's that sort of fundamental thinking around, right, how do we become top of our game? How do we get focused on becoming the best in our niche at each part of our business? And your business is very simple. Search is very simple. Search is really two fundamental parts to it. It's two moving parts. Client, I need a candidate. Candidate fills that role. You're the middleman. That is it. And your business is really leads, conversion, and delivery. So you get your leads in. So whether you're using 1,000 obtuse systems now and you're using 100 automations and you've got 55 remote workers in the Philippines who are making you want to pull your hair out, you've got your leads coming in. Hopefully you've got a much more simple system than that nowadays. Those days are gone. Conversion is right. We have our lead, we have our client opportunity, and we convert our client. That comes down to your offer. And then delivery is candidate piece. Let's focus on the offer. Now, this is the Apex offer model. Now, to set expectations, this is an intro. So it's giving you the high level 30,000 foot way of thinking about your offer. Now, your offer is only going to work as well as you can convert the client. So the client doesn't care about you. The client doesn't care about how swanky your offices are. It doesn't care about the 1,000 candidates you've got. It doesn't care about your process. It doesn't care about your shortlist. They don't give two damns about any of that. All they care about is the following. So with your offer, we had a thing called a client attainment system in Recruitment Marketing International, which is my previous business. And when I came into executive search 15 years ago, the missing part I could see was marketing. And I was told by many leaders, you've solved the missing part to search. Fantastic. I believe the whole industry has gone full circle now. I believe the snake is eating his own tail. I believe automation, these things that I brought into the industry 15 years ago, from different industries. I worked in investment banking and media, and I brought some of these elements into search. They worked then, and now I believe search is now eating his own tail. This snake is eating his own tail. Everyone's doing the same thing. Everyone's doing the same automation, same videos, same messaging. Your client sits there and thinks, here we go again, another spotty kid or another person in the Philippines sending me a message. We've eaten our tail. We need to be focusing on what the client wants, not what you think you need to be doing. So what does your client want? So your offer is what you currently do. Go out to your marketplace and you say, this is going to be the fee, it's going to be 50K, this is what you get in turn. And in the old days, it'd be step 1, we do this, step 2, we do this, step 3, do this, and 4, this. We get shortlist here, then we get post follow-up here, blah, 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 blah. We now need to understand the market we're dealing with. We're now in an industry whereby your clients have got access to every candidate online, whether you're dealing with corporates, whether you're dealing with smaller businesses. If they want to, they can go out and find the candidate in the same way. So why are you different? Why should they pay you 50K? And just also on this point, if you're currently earning 10K per role, I want you to be thinking about how can I get 50K per role? That means you need to change the niche, or it means you need to change the roles in the niche, right? If you're currently getting 50K a role, how do you get 100K a role? Because the effort it takes to get a 10K role is the same as if you're getting a 100K role. It's the same. So, and what you'll find is, and for those of you who've been at the lower end of search, so you're dealing with a 2, 3, 4, 5, 10K role, and you may have transcended into the ethers of a 50K role, the lower fees, often that client is a much shittier client and giving you much more hell than the client who's paying you 50K or 100K, right? That is just a fact. In the same way, if I'm dealing with somebody and they come in, and if I go back 15 years, I'm selling a $99 a month product, and I've got someone else paying me $4,000 a month. The result from the $4,000 a month client versus the $99 per month client will be much, much more. Why? They've invested more. They've got more skin in the game. It's much more enjoyable all round. But also that 4K a month, I know they're going to be getting at least a 10x on what their investment with me. Whereas a 99K a month person, they need to get a $1,000 placement, but they're not taking it seriously. So with your clients, you might want to consider this. I mentioned on a previous video, a client of mine previously, Laura, and I can give you Ken, I can give you Steve, I can give you Darren. Go through a test, increase your fee, just see what happens. Just run a test for the next 5 roles, increase it by 10, 20%. I think you might be surprised. The offer though, we'll come back to this. The offer, which you put forward to the client, is based on 3 fundamental pillars. The problem for the client, the risk you're going to take on board and remove for the client, and the accountability that you will take on board post-hire and indeed during the hiring process. And if you've got a senior candidate, so i.e. that candidate becomes a client for you. So let's say, for example, you place an MD, that MD then needs to hire 3, 4 senior roles. There's knock-on accountability. So your offer, how can you really dig down on their problem, remove the risk, and take on all the accountability? How can you do that? So this is what we're going to do. You need to get into a space of completely forget about your lovely brochure, completely forget that all of your competitors are charging 25K for this role. Forget all that. Forget all of that. I strongly believe now we're in a time, and I commend those who have the kahunas to do this, but also it's your business. You make up the rules. No one has said to you as an entrepreneur, your fee has to be 25K. But Steve does that down the road. Mark does that down the road. So what are you? You're a commodity. You're basically a commodity. So you're going to trade on getting lucky now and again, having a few relationships, maybe the odd referral. If you're going to trade on price, you're a commodity. Fuck commodity. Become the leader, trusted advisor. And this always goes full circle. So in terms of your offer, you need to understand their problem, business, understand their risk, not what you think the risk is, and you take on the accountability. So let's break this down. Number 1, problem. When you're engaging with the client, if you identify their problem is, yes, so you need a CRO, you need a marketing director. We fully get that. Marketing is a key thing now and blah, 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 vague. You're going to be focusing on a cheap fee. You don't know this, but they're going to be looking at you as just, again, a commodity. You're not a business specialist. You're not a trusted advisor. If you can get specific about their problem, very specific. So let's say that I speak to you. Let's say that you come to me. You say, Andy, our challenge is we've been stuck at $750,000 now for 2 years and I want to get to 2 million. Right, what's the problem? Well, there's 3 parts to your business: leads, conversion, delivery. And I can isolate straight away where your leads, you're getting 10% conversion here, you're getting a 10% conversion there, and you're getting 10% conversion there. Right, so what about if we can just add, make that 11%, make that 11%, and make that 11%? What happens? You actually add a third to your business. You actually add a third to your business, it compounds. But if I can then get into your specifics, yeah, but we deal with fintech in Los Angeles, or we deal with private equity and CRO at this stage in the process, or we deal with IPOs and our specific focus is this role in this niche, this part of the process in this sub-industry. And then I can break it down to you and say, yes, and the figures are this, and you should be taking this action based on these fundamentals of what I've seen previously. You're going to start listening. If I start talking jargon just about recruitment niches and blah, 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 but not being specific about your niche, you may not listen. If I can be specific about A, metrics, but then B, your niche, and understand exactly who your client and candidate is, you're going to start to understand that I am worth the premium fee. Same principle here. You need to be very specific about your client. And what that means is the following. The sharper you understand their business problem, the higher the fee. The sharper you understand their business problem, the higher the fee. Now, the little voice in your head now saying, Andy, I know everything about my client. I know everything about my client. I know what the problem is. So why are you watching this video right now? Because you've got a fundamental problem where you are not converting enough clients because your offer sucks. Because you're doing the same offer as everyone else in executive search. I came into executive search 15 years ago and disrupted the industry with automation, inbound, remote teams, and lots of the coaches out there actually went through my program. Now we've eaten ourselves. The industry's eating ourselves. Because of the onset of AI, so much information is out there for your clients. You need to be the trusted advisor. And to do that, you need to really understand the business problem. And that gets down to the low-level specific problems. So if you say, well, I know that, well, in that case, then you haven't got a problem with conversion, have you? You have got a problem with conversion in the same way that I think I'm awesome at Muay Thai. And then I get in a ring and I get the shit kicked out of me. I get slapped around. I'm actually not as good as I think I am. Might be able to shadow box a bit, but you know what? I'm not as good as I think I am. I might look good against a novice. Actually, I'm not very good. This Thai bloke who's a foot smaller than me, but has had 300 fights, he's only 25, is kicking the living hell out of me. Why is that? Because he is a true expert. He's lived and breathed this every single day. But in my glorious imperial palace, I think I'm epic. So I'm in my gym, I'm looking in the mirror, I'm doing pretty good. No, I'm not. Same here. You've got to take on board, if you're not doing the millions that you want to do, there is a reason for it. It will come down to leads, conversion, or delivery. And with conversion, it will come down to one of these three. You understanding the problem. And when you speak to your client, and how many times this happened, you spoke to your client, and you can just tell, if you're looking at them, it might be if you're on the phone, that pause, or that subtle, you know you've lost it. You know that opportunity to get that client is gone. You've messed up because you've not understood the problem. You want to go in there, really understanding that problem, but relaying it back to them, even before they say to you. Now, how you do that, specifics, I'll come to on a different video, but the point is, you need to become a problem expert. So before you go into that meeting, you need a marketing director, and you think you understand, no, what are the specifics? And this brings me into the next step. If you really understand the problem, what you can do is you can then remove the hidden risk. So you've heard about being consciously incompetent or unconsciously competent or incompetent. So we got being competent, incompetent, consciously, unconsciously. Which of those four do we sit in? You want to be really clear to the client that you know what the risk is of this hire based on the business problem they've got, and this is the risk they've got. They're not going to sit there and tell you, well, if this fucks up, I'm going to lose my job. They want you to be completely leading them. If I go to a gym and I want to say, right, I want to put on 10 pounds of muscle, I don't want to sit there and say, well, I know that if I take those macros and take that protein, I want to be told, Andy, shut up. This is what you need to be doing. This is why you're not growing. This is why you're not losing the weight. It's why you're not putting on the muscle. This is why your punch isn't landing. I want to be directed. If I do the job properly, if I take on board a new coach, I'm not going to tell them, this is what I'm doing, this is where I think I'm going wrong. I want to sit there silent, completely silent, and let them assess. They're going to tell me. And with you, how many times have you been in a meeting, you think it's going well, you think you're absolutely nailing it, and you've walked out, darling, I've nailed that. You don't hear back from them. They ghost you. It goes missing because you've not got the business problem, and what you've not done is quantify what the hidden risk is. When you can quantify what the hidden risk is to the client, that's when you can start focusing on the fee, because now you're becoming a real specialist. And this is why with Apex, one of the huge drivers now I'm pushing is not just be a niche expert, but a micro niche expert. And if you're a micro niche expert and you're focused on the right roles, you just need 5, 6, 7 roles a year, and you're looking at way over 7 figures. If you've got a business that's doing 10 million and you've got your 5 rainmakers, you don't need to be going out and getting thousands of leads, as you know, but your micro niche is sitting in these silos. Each silo has got a specific problem. Each silo's got a specific risk. In fact, multiples of each, as you know. But you won't be able to quantify what those are with your client. You want to be ahead of the curve with this. So your conversion conversation, your sale, we're focusing on the problem, the business problem. Then we're focusing on the hidden, quantified risks to them personally. So if this hire goes wrong, I am duly fucked. And for those of you who don't like my language, I learned that from Tony Robbins. I went to Tony Robbins quite a few times and he swore way more than I ever expected. And one of the things he said was, it's about getting that visceral feeling. So if I do fucking swear, it's done from a good place. So it's about quantifying that hidden risk. If you can do that, you're now, one, this is your business problem. This is the personal risk to you, Mr. Client. But then the third one is, if this still happens, if by the grace of God, something happens, all of the risks, it can become my accountability. I'm taking that on board. So how do we do that? So when you get into the risk, so one of the things that I was a big proponent of many years ago, we had something called a client attainment system, a CAS, a client attainment system. I had all these cool names for my different strategies, which I spent hours, weeks coming up with. All these different models. And you find them on the YouTube channel if you go back to some of them. And this is called a CAS, a client attainment system. And part of that process was demonstrating to the client, this is our process, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a milestone, 5, 6, 7, 8. All basic stuff now, but we're going back 15 years. That don't work anymore. These are basics. Accountability is about you taking ownership away from the client of this hire. So if you're pushing that away, that accountability, so you've got on your contract, you've got on your terms, at 30 days this happens, and 90 days this happens, etc., etc. Fabulous. However, if you completely own that hire, different niches, you have a different way of owning that hire. That's where you can set the premium fee, because you've removed all the quantifiable and hidden risk, and you've understood the business problem. So bring that full circle. Your client knows that if anything goes wrong, you understand the impact of that client, you understand the business risk, and you're taking that on board. So that comes back to, can you find the candidate? Are you good at your job? That's for a different video. But this accountability piece is huge. And we think accountability means we're going to put in our contract, at a 30-day milestone, we'll do this. We will replace the hire at this point. Do you really think that an MD in charge of his business going through a IPO, or it's a manufacturing business, and that the role that he's hiring for has got 30 staff working 24/7 underneath him, do you really think he gives two flying Fs about replacing that role 90 days afterwards? That's his idea of hell. The board are going to kick his ass. He's going to go home to his wife and cause hell. He's not going to see his kids. He's not even thinking about if it goes wrong in 90 days. The world we're in now is not the world it was 6, 7 years ago. So how do you take that accountability? So what parallel actions can you be taking in place in this hiring process? Now, it depends on your niche, who you're dealing with. But the accountability part is huge. I put a post on LinkedIn yesterday. And one of the things that I get from my Apex Boardroom members, the smaller members, so those who are doing, say, $1 million. We're a small business. We cannot compete with these guys. Corn Ferry are huge. We can't compete with that. Or we cannot compete with this fintech specialist. You can. And the reason why is this. When these guys are taken on board and they get the role, what happens? The role comes in, then it gets passed to a junior in the team. That junior finds the candidate, and we get this handoff process, as you know. Accountability can be your secret weapon if you're a smaller firm. So if you're under 5 million, 10 million, smaller firm. Accountability is your secret weapon. I did in a previous video about the partner, the MD, the owner, the founder of the business, about becoming more visible. Hands up, when I ran Recruitment Marketing International, which is my previous business from 2010 to the end of 23, now we're Apex. We're Apex because I believe the market's changed. My business was about Recruitment Marketing International, heavy on the marketing side. But across those 13 years, we became completely end-to-end business. So with Apex, we're focusing on the Apex in the industry, those who actually want to be the niche leaders. But one of the key fundamentals is this. When you look at what's changed in the business and what's changed across all of these different industries, is the ownership of the role, the ownership of the risk needs to go fully on the owner. And what that means is the partner. So going back to RMI days, one of the things that I pushed at the beginning was, right, if you map a market and you got 10,000 clients and you've got 50,000 candidates in your niche, put them through an automated process, get inbound responses, then you filter them, then someone does the talk, blah, 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 all that stuff. Those days are long gone. It's been bastardized. And that is something that everybody needs to get really damn quick, because the onset of AI, everyone sits at their laptop, bam, we sent out 1,000 messages and got 3 responses, killing it. You're killing your brand is what you're doing. And again, if you want to be doing 2 million personally, how many placements do you need? 15? I don't know what your number is. But you need to be visible as a partner now. You need to be visible as a business owner. One of the things that I'm also sharing is, in the next few weeks, is we've put together a program around selling your executive search business. And the first time I got involved with this was about 10 years ago with a legend of the game called Roy Ripper. Go and check him out. Roy came to me and said, Andy, I keep seeing your name pop up. Seems you fixed the missing part of the industry. Met for coffee. Turns out we have mutual friends. And everything went rosy. And I said to Roy, how are these businesses sold in executive search? I wasn't from search. I'm from investment banking and media. How are these businesses sold? How do you sell a search business? And Roy got together a group of agency leaders in London, and we paid for breakfast in this swanky, it was in a cellar, remember rightly, underground in a square mile, London, steak for breakfast. Roy got them all together because he had the name. And I basically grilled these guys for a couple of hours. How do you sell your business? What's your plan? And what it came down to was a broker. And then about 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago when COVID was starting, I had inquiries about selling RMI. And some of the valuations were crazy. And I maybe should have sold it at the time, is what it is. But when I had these inquiries about selling my business, I then took on a guy as a mentor about selling my business. And then because I'd done things in my name, it became a case of selling a business, but having to rebrand slightly, learn a lesson, rebrand slightly, also having a business in Delaware and other pieces around this. But as part of that process, it got me going back to, shit, how are recruitment businesses sold? How are search businesses sold? Then I spoke to a few brokers, and it became pretty clear to me there isn't a process. There's a broker process. But in the world of business per se, and I came from investment banking, there was a very clear defined process to sell the business. But in executive search, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. But here's the thing. When you set up your business to sell it, what you actually do is this. You either sell your business, as in someone says the EBITDA is X and they give you Y. So let's say EBITDA is, 3. So $1 million, there goes your 3-4 million, off you go. Gardening period, you can't go back into the same niche, but you know the process, you can repeat this in another niche straight away. So you can make a cool 3-4 million pretty quickly. But when you sell a business, what you actually do is you create a business whereby you exit the business. So as an owner, you exit it. So you're selling a business whereby when the investor comes in or the buyer comes in, private equity come in, They're going to ask you either to go through a transitionary period whereby you stay on board, or what you probably want when you sell your business is you want a clean cut. We're selling on the 1st of March. I'm out on day one on 1st of March. But then there are fundamentals behind that, i.e. team, process, all the things I was going through about selling at RMI, Recruitment Marketing International. But here's the joy in that. If you get your business set up in a way whereby you can sell it, you actually remove yourself from the business. So you've now got a cash flow business. Let's say it's doing 1.5 million a year in net cash flow. So 2 million revenue to 1.5 net cash flow. If you've got an operating officer in charge, your business can run without you. So exit the business means you exit the business. Selling the business means you sell the business. But my big focus now is build, grow, and exit. So either we sell your business or you exit the business, which means you've got the cash flow. Coming full circle back to partner visibility. The key thing is this. I, before, was a massive proponent of get out of the business, let the business run without you. You don't need to be the face of the business. Because now executive search is now eating his own arse, we go on the full snake, everyone's doing the same thing. The partner, the founder, the leader, the owner needs to be visible. And I strongly recommend that you set in place a 1 to 3 year plan to exit or sell the business. And as part of that process, you need to get in the front of the business again. Something you don't maybe want to do. And the same way of me, if you look at my YouTube channel, I've got, I don't know how many videos, 300-400 videos. I think there are literally a handful of me on video. However, the world has changed. So I'm walking the walk on this. The world has changed. What worked 5, 6, 7 years ago no longer works. And you, as a search owner, need to understand that. But what I say to you is this. Your offer is probably the most important part of your business. Leads are pretty easy to get. Conversion at the fee you want is the most difficult part. Finding the candidate, you could argue is also difficult, but in these current times, your client's thinking, we can find the candidate as well. So this offer part is key. So coming full circle, what have we covered here? The Apex offer model, intro version. Your offer doesn't come down to, I want 25K because that's the average fee, but my logo's better, I've been in business longer, and look at my testimonials. Your offer comes down to, right, I get your problem, Mr. Client. I understand the implicated risk to you personally, Mr. Client. This is the hidden risk, but I can quantify that. Okay, he gets this. And I know the personal risk to you is the following. Always remember this, and I think, again, part of this is my fault. With Recruitment Marketing International, I brought into a search one-to-many inbound remote automation. And again, some of the coaches out there, been through my program, took it, ran with it. Those days, I believe, are gone, going. We need to use automation, of course. We need to use AI, of course. But we also need to focus on being a trusted advisor. I'm not concerned about transactional businesses whereby you're placing 50 clients a year, 2 roles per client, 100 roles per year, that's fine. Or maybe even temp as well. And we absolutely killed that in RMI, the temp industry. We absolutely smashed that. I'm focusing on those who want to be a trusted advisor, those who want to be a niche leader, those who want the big fees, those who want to be getting the fees whereby if they close a fee, if they want to, they could take 2 months off. But I'd suggest you don't do that. And you're talking from the converted. Your offer is absolutely fundamental. So problem, risk, and you taking on board the accountability, really understanding this is key. Do you get the client? Yeah, of course I get the client, but you don't because you're not doing your 5 million or your 4 rainmakers are not doing 5 million each. These are the 3 parts to your offer: problem, risk, accountability. That then reverse engineers into what your fee is. One thing I'd say is this. If you're comparing what you offer to everyone else in the niche, well, the average fee for this IT role is 25K. Okay, fabulous. Be average. Be a commodity. Fuck that. Don't be a commodity. Why are you a commodity? If you put the years of effort in, like me, 15 years of absolute blood, sweat and tears. I remember at one point I had a conversation with somebody who copied my shit. And I was on holiday with my first child, and I called up this individual. He said to me, Andy, it's just information. No, it's not just information. That's taken me 15 years of investment banking, media, blood, sweat and tears, flights all around Europe, starting a new business, testing, losing money for half a year, then getting the business going, then getting the inner circle going, then testing it again within the circle members, then finally getting it working. And he copied it and said, it's just information. No, it's not information. So I've put the miles in. I've taken out 2 years to understand selling, understand the institutional side of buying a recruitment search business, the legal side, the legal entities around this. My years are there, and the other years are still coming in front of me. You've probably put the years in as well. So what I say to you is this: you've probably got more knowledge and power and understanding about your niche than you recognize. So you probably understand the business as long as you're niche, or you're going to become niche. You probably understand the business problem as well as your client. You probably understand the risk to the client because you know your client. But often what I find in search is, because in the people I work with anyway generally are really sound, nice people. When I first got into search, I was told it's full of arseholes. And I came from the city of London. My first job was at Nomura, the trading floor for the biggest Japanese investment bank in the world. So I went in balls deep as a 22-year-old, completely out of my depth with the most cutthroat traders you're ever going to meet. When I came to search, I was like, these people are lovely. They're lovely. And often what happens in search is, or I seem to attract these people, they really care about their client. So they get a bit about the risk. They get a bit about the risk. What they don't do is understand the business side, but they're very good at personal side. So they get the risk, but you really need to now get this down to the nth degree, which is I'm going to be a trusted advisor in a niche. I'm going to dominate this fucking niche. That niche is mine. I'm going to be the number one. So why do you think it is? In any niche you focus on, you've got this model. You've got the bottom third, then you've got the middle half, and you've got this little bit at the top where people are getting paid good money. Then you've got this 5%, maybe 3% at the top who are getting paid all the money. That's where you want to focus on. How do I become that 3%? How do I become that 3%? In the same way with me, how am I the 1%? Because I put the 15 years in. I've been through the blood, sweat and tears. I've flown around the world setting up remote teams. I've gone around the world speaking to different clients in America. I've gone around the world speaking to different industry leaders. How do you get this 1%? That's where your money is. Now, the good news is you don't need to lose hundreds of hours and killing yourself in this. You probably know more than you do. I'll cover this on the next video or another video soon about unpacking the IP in your brain. But what I would say, and one of my big drivers is please, please, please do this. If you are an ethical person, if you are a good search specialist, if you do give a shit about your client, up your fees, become a niche leader, stop this being beige like everyone else. Their website has 3 parts to it and it's blue and black and has a nice logo. Fuck that. Become the niche leader. Become the niche leader. Can't stress this enough. The older you get, the more you realize how much little time you have. If you've got young children like me, you realize you've only got 12 hours a week to make all of your content. That's it. Job done. So in those 12 hours, what am I going to do? I'm going to get all this out of my brain onto video. I'm not going to be worried about editing it and doing what was cool 5 years ago. Unpacking the IP, giving it to you. What IP have you got on your head you can unpack to your client? Because your competitors are doing the same shit everyone else has done forever. And they're going onto LinkedIn and they're writing a post of, I've just got engaged. And it made me think about my sales process. Fuck off. The shit you get on there is incredible. Is anyone really buying that? Your client at the end of the day is somebody who's got friends and he has beers with. Your client at the end of the day is somebody who's got friends and they go horse riding with. Your client at the end of the day is somebody who is frustrated with life, frustrated in a relationship. They don't need more stress at work. They're not someone who sits there and looks at a LinkedIn post and says, that sounds very professional. Break away from the crap in the marketplace. Be the opposite of everyone else. Cannot stress this enough. People want authenticity. They don't want what's been around now for the last 6-7 years, which are perfect brochures and everyone being commoditized doing the same thing. Trust me on this. Your next 5 roles, increase your fee by 10%. Let me know what happens. If normally you send out 5 proposals and you get 3 back as a yes, send out the next 5 with a 10% increase in your fee. Send me a message on LinkedIn. Let me know what happens. And what will happen perversely is they'll still convert. I covered that on a video earlier. I'm going to wrap up now. I'm very passionate about this because I am so annoyed with the crap in the marketplace and the crap directives. Your offer is fundamental. Leads, conversion, delivery. This is an intro to a little bit about conversion. Conversion consists of 9 boxes. One small part of that is your offer that we're covering here today. We've not covered the other 8, and I will do on different videos. Andy Whitehead, Apex. And again, I'll probably get somebody messaging me about my language. I really fucking apologize. But this isn't a game, it's your business. Don't fuck it up. Your offer is huge.